1827. Thank you, Trustee Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. I would, at this point, at this juncture, reappoint Village Attorney Walter R. Sebastian as our Village Attorney and Paul Baum as our Planning Board Attorney. And I would seek confirmation via Resolution 2018-28 approving the Village Attorney first. Thank you, Trustee Miller. Thank you, Trustee Valentine for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. And then second, Resolution 2018-29 as it relates to Mr. Baum at an hourly rate for both the village and the land use applicants. Thank you, Trustee Valentine for the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. I would reappoint Alan Rubin, Chairperson of our Planning Board, for a term to expire April 2019. Accordingly, I would seek Resolution 2018-30 confirming said appointment. Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bach for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. Next, I would reappoint Mark Levine as our Deputy Chairperson for the Planning Board. Should he choose to accept it, if he's still there, for a term to expire April 2019, and accordingly I would seek your confirmation via Resolution 2018-31.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Thank you, Trustee Valentine for the second. I was reappointing you, Mark, if you still want the Deputy Chairperson's job. We have a motion on the floor. Trustee Cohen, second. Trustee Valentine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
Let the record reflect one nay. One nay. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Number 14, Mayor would reappoint Stephen Lieberman, Chairperson of the Zoning Board. Accordingly, I would seek Liebman, excuse me. Yeah, we don't want to put the Lieberman. He's our reporter for the Journal News. He's got other things to do. Mr. Liebman as Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and accordingly, I would seek your confirmation via Resolution 2018-32. Oh, then move that one, and Trustee Cohen for the second. Thank you all. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. I am going to ask the table with regard to the Deputy Chair of the ZBA. I still need to speak with a few folks with regard to that position. So I just would ask a motion to table it, and we'll revisit it. Thank you, Trustee Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Miller for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. Okay, at this juncture, I would appoint Paul Van Alstyne as an alternate member for the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire April 2022. Accordingly, I would seek your confirmation via Resolution 2018-34. Thank you, Trustee Valentine for the motion. Thank you, Trustee Cohen for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. I would reappoint Robert Lorenz as our Chairperson of the Architectural Review Board for a term to expire April 2019. Accordingly, I would seek your confirmation via Resolution 2018-35.
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock. Thank you, Trustee Cohen for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. And thank you very much. Next, I would reappoint Laura Dunlop as our Deputy Chairperson for the Architectural Review Board for a term to expire April 2019. Accordingly, I would seek confirmation via Resolution 2018-36. Thank you, Trustee Miller for the motion. Thank you, Trustee Valentine for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There being none, thank you very much. Mayor would appoint Nabil Ghanem as the Architectural Review Board member for a term to expire April 2022. He's actually replacing Paul Van Alstyne, who's moving on to the Zoning Board. And we thank Mr. Ghanem for his volunteering of his services. And accordingly, I would seek Resolution 2018-37 confirming said appointment. Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Thank you, Trustee Valentine for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. Resolution 2018-38 designates the office of the mayor as the village historian. I would seek a resolution accordingly. Thank you, Trustee Cohen.
Second.
And thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. It is also with, Resolution 2018-39 approves our contract with Marvin Lyman, CPA, as our village financial consultant. I would seek your confirmation on Resolution 2018-39.
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock for the motion. Thank you, trustee Valentine for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much.
One abstention.
One abstention, trustee Cohen. So noted. Resolution 2018-40 approves our contract with Nelson Pope and Voorhees LLC as our village planning consultant.
So
Seek
moved.
confirmation. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock for the motion. I hear a second. Thank you, trustee Valentine for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you. Next, along the line, we have Resolution 2018-41 approving the contract with Spencer Engineering as village engineering consultant.
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock, and thank you, trustee Miller for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. Resolution 2018-42 designates the Rockland Journal News as the official village newspaper.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Deputy Mayor Brock for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. By the way, folks, this is, I'm sorry? You oppose, okay, and one nay, reflect one nay. As you can see, this is a lot of housekeeping. This is our annual, it's also considered a reorganization too, so that's why you're seeing a lot of, so many things going on here. We're basically reappointing our village professionals and consultants and things of that nature, which is always a pleasure to do, because as much as, we pay them, we never pay them enough. Don't let them say that I said that. But, I guess trustee Miller wants me to make sure that we're telling you that we discussed this before we came here to pass it. So obviously it's been discussed. And the professionals a lot of them have been here for a number of years. So they have a great reputation, and we're very lucky to have them on board. Moving along, we have Resolution 2018-43 designating M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, Key Bank as official village depositories. Thank you, trustee Valentine for this motion, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock for this second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. Resolution 2018-44 designates the locations for official village postings, so I would ask that motion, Resolution 2018-44.
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock, and thank you, trustee Cohen. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. We have Resolution 2018-45 approving the Village of Chestnut Ridge procurement policy. That's bidding, things of that nature. Thank you, trustee Miller, for the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. Resolution 2018-46 approves our 2018 agreement with the Cornell Cooperative Extension for EPA Phase 2 Stormwater Regulation. Scintillating reading if you have problems falling asleep. But accordingly, I would ask for motion with regard to Resolution 2018-46. Thank you, trustee Collins.
Second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none. Thank you very much. And now we know spring is around because we're going to, Resolution 2018-47 renews our agreement with B&B Pools to open the water feature at the Village Park. So I would seek a motion with regard to Resolution 2018-47. Thank you, trustee Cohen, for $230. Thank you, trustee Miller, for that second, and for pointing out the amount of money. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. Resolution 2018-48 to schedule a public hearing for June 28, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. at the Chestnut Ridge Middle School on the proposed local law of 2018 zoning law text amendments as relates to places of worship in the village of Chestnut Ridge.
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock, for the motion, and thank you, trustee Valentine, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. At the next juncture here, we have Resolution 2018-49 approving our abstract of audited claims. Make sure we're spending our money prudently. All of that.
My money too.
I'm going to make a motion.
Okay, I'll move that resolution. Resolved that the funds set forth on pages 1 through 4 in the abstract dated April 26, 2018, in the aggregate amount of $152,715.54, as submitted by the village treasurer, be hereby approved.
I'll second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brock, for the motion. Thank you, trustee Cohen, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. We did receive a request from the town of Ramapo to, again, we have to, again, get our tax exemption procedures in line with regard to disabled individuals, senior citizens, and firemen and ambulance members. Town of Ramapo, which oversees the tax collection and tax exemption laws, had sent us the proposed, the continuation of the exemption requirements. So what we're going to do is, at this point, I'm just going to entertain a motion to have the public hearing on those 3 exemption laws for our May 17th meeting.
So moved.
Again, this is nothing new. This is for senior citizens, for disabled citizens, senior citizens, firemen, and ambulance corps. Thank you, Trustee Miller, for the motion. Thank you, Trustee Valentine, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none. Thank you very much.
What is the date for that?
That's going to be our May 17th public meeting. Well, the laws have been provided to us by the town of Ramapo. We'll post it and we'll have an opportunity to discuss it. But it's nothing, we're not reinventing the wheel. This is, we're just reaffirming the percentages if you fall within those statutorily set parameters. Okay. Next, we will open up the floor to public discussion on everything and anything you may wish to speak on. Again, I would just ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes, and then just stay in the back of the line if you need to ask again. And as the procedure normally is, name and address for the record. So, first one up, come on up. You need to bring it down. There you go. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Carol Goodman, and I live at 964 Chestnut Ridge
Good evening, Ms. Goodman.
Now, Goodman, to my knowledge, the zoning board already voted on that law and proposed that 3 Spring Hill Terrace was out of compliance and was to make the structure back to what the plan said, which is a 3-car garage. It is a 3-car garage like I'm a 3-car garage. And you are my village. You are to be doing things that are for the people of the village of Chestnut Ridge. This is not in keeping with what's good for the people in Chestnut Ridge.
Actually, thank you, Ms. Goodman, for the comment, because the village has been sued with regard to the zoning board's decision.
But you haven't made any changes.
Excuse me. The fact that the village has been sued and has been accused of violating civil rights violations, this board cannot comment at all on 3 Spring Hill Terrace.
Okay.
So you're welcome, again, to speak on it. You're welcome to voice whatever opinion you may have on it, but please do not take our silence with regard to it as disrespect. We cannot speak about it because it is now in court.
Okay, now with the entertainment of a new law that could possibly be put into effect, this would make Chestnut Ridge unviable. You could not live here, because instead of having homes, you'll have synagogues. Because no person will be able to have a home. I know because I'm living with it, and have been living with it for some time. It is a great injustice to me and to the people of Chestnut Ridge.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman. Next, please, name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Norman Cohen. I live at 11 Aberdeen Avenue, Chestnut Ridge.
Good evening,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Cohen.
I looked through the bylaws regarding our local laws and so forth, but there seems to be some oversight regarding safety standards for people that will be praying there. There's no evidence that there would be firewalls, no evidence that there would be sprinkler systems, smoke detectors, alarm systems, or anything, and no safety precautions as far as entrance and exits. Why is this excluded when we are interested in the safety of children as well as people who are using the homes for worship? And how will this be enforced? That would be a gargantuan requirement. I mean, we need a lot of people to make sure that this safety issues are enforced with the fire department. So I think this should be well coordinated. We have our duty and our rights to do this for the safety of everybody. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Cohen. Just so you know, again, as we're not discussing law per se, but the law in any building that happens in the village has to be in accordance with fire safety and building codes. But you're absolutely right. Thank you. Mr. Lieberson, name and address for the record.
Jerry Lieberson, 31 Midway Road. I understand the legal constraints you're under with respect to 3 Spring Hill Terrace, but I just want to ask, you can tell me if you can't answer, but were you under these constraints before the lawsuit was filed on April 19th? Or on April 20th it was filed?
Actually, we were under threat of suit, so yes, in a way, yes.
So for that reason, you could not give us answers as to what was going to be the enforcement roadmap? Because as you know, I had not get any answer from the building department for 4 weeks. I emailed you about that. Is that the reason why? Because...
Actually, Mr. Lieberson, no. What happens is this. The FOIL law says that you come and you get documents. Because you have a question with regard to procedure, that's not necessarily FOILable, okay? If you want to know how certain things are done, either you look at the law or you look at the file. And some of the requests that you were making were outside of the FOIL parameters. So, and I think I responded to you accordingly, saying that the file is open to you as any file is to anyone, and by looking at the file, you will see exactly what was done as a result of the zoning board's actions.
But my questions, of which there were 4, which have not changed since I first brought them up in March, had to do with, like, when was the effective date of the revocation beyond which it would be illegal, what would be the penalties. You know, it was basically questions dealing with what I thought would have been a matter-of-fact application of the village law and procedure, given now that we have a resolution approving the...
And it is.
But
and if you looked at the village law, you would see what the penalties are for zoning violations. If you looked at the building file, you would have seen the letters that were sent to the property owner.
Okay, so I have a FOIL request. I did submit it, but not before.
Yeah,
it will take time. Okay.
You know we don't keep anything from you.
Well, I just didn't get any answer for 4 weeks from the building.
Understood.
I found that to be a little bit, you could at least, someone could answer. All right. 1 Carroll Court. On 1 Carroll Court, so you have received a formal complaint and a follow-up endorsement signed by a total of 83 residents of Chestnut Ridge. You right? The complaint detailed 40 problems with the plans, the approval of the permit, and the construction. And in light of other situations to date, 3 Spring Hill Terrace, 10 Pine Knoll Court, 453 South Pascack, the complaint called for firing the building inspector and a building moratorium. I have submitted a FOIL request for the property to get the latest information as to Spring Hill, but I'm still waiting for that appointment. I just was wondering, is there any response to this complaint that you can give tonight to the residents who signed it? And can we expect a response in the future if you can't give one tonight?
At the beginning of the meeting, I think I mentioned during my
Okay, I
report.
was outside.
Oh, no problem. That we've instituted an additional procedure with regard to any and all building applications and permitting, that the village engineer, Martin Spence, also looks at the applications. So Mr. Spence, actually one of his first, when he first started doing this, I guess it's about 2 weeks now, he had 3 properties that he was supposed to be addressing. 21 Lancaster, 1 Carrow, and there was another property that escapes me right now. But the village engineer is working in tandem with the building inspector with regard to how that application needs to be cleaned up. And that's what they're working on.
So it's not just, in all respects, maybe that was covered by the complaint perhaps. So
Correct. Oh, no,
okay.
I'm not, you are correct in that as a result of the issues that were brought up by you and by a few other neighbors at public meetings, I did have an opportunity to, somebody I don't think he's here, asked me to crack the file. Well, I did crack the file a number of times. And it was as a result of those comments and in looking at the file that I thought it best to get the village engineer involved, and I think we're on the right track.
Very good to hear. And then just one last thing, I'm not quite as prepared for this question, but, and you may not be able to answer it, but we've been told that there is in the village code that all new construction requires a two-car garage with a driveway. Now, when I say those words, I'm not quoting verbatim, but that's kind of how it was related, was brought up in connection with why 3 Spring Hill Terrace ended up with needing to build what they built because they closed it. So, there are 2 properties that concern me, one in particular, 2 Samuel Road, which if you look, okay, now the situation with that, this is in a neighborhood where there were these one-story homes, with one-story, I don't know, Cape homes or something. The existing house had a garage, but at one point sometime in the past, it was closed up. That house has been demolished all the way down to the foundation. There were some supports, and what has been built up is 2 stories with 6-foot vertical wall studded attic space, and I think there's also a basement, but I didn't look. I have to look at the plans again. There is no garage at all in that structure. None. Not even a 1-car garage. My question to you, and I looked at the law Everett forwarded me, and it's kind of not clear exactly under what circumstances that 2-car garage rule is enforced. And so it strikes me this might be another example where, again, the building inspector has this unchecked discretion. Then can someone explain to me how that does not have a 2-car garage?
First of all, the building inspector doesn't have the ability to waive a requirement of the law.
But the law might not be clear.
But, what we will do is, if it's 2 Samuel, we'll follow up.
Okay.
I don't wanna speculate,
All right.
so
If
let
you
me,
could follow up that. And then as well, 10 Lillian is a similar thing. The difference there is that there was an existing 1-car garage, but there is still only a 1-car garage. And again, the same thing. The house was brought all the way down, demolished, all the way to the foundation. 10 Lillian Drive, 2 Samuel Road, and they're both next to each other. So I'm just very curious about that because...
as am I, and I say that honestly, as am I.
Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Name and address for the record.
Jonathan Corbin, 6 Aberdeen Avenue.
Good evening, Mr. Porter.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor, I just was curious about Resolution 20. That makes you our village historian. Have we ever had an historian before?
We did. He was a detective in Suffern, actually.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't much historian stuff to do. So,
Is that something you would like to do?
well, it's not me personally, it's the office of the mayor. So, I kind of accepted the responsibility, should you say, but there's really not much for us to be doing at this juncture. But it's the office, yes. Good, okay.
The reason that I bring this up is because I know somebody in the village who would love to be the village historian. She's done a great deal of work in exploring our history and in promoting it.
Well, before you speak any further with regard to her, I spoke with her, and there were conditions that she had with regard that she needed to make with the village that were not acceptable to the village. But thank you for lobbying for her. It's appreciated. I'm sure she appreciates it also. Name and address for the record, please.
Margaret Dupree, 49 Spring Hill Terrace.
Good evening.
I just have a question about 32 Spring Hill Terrace. I know there were complaints filed, and I'm being bombarded by my neighbors asking me. That house is illegally rented.
I'm sorry, 32?
32.
Okay.
It's illegally rented. You have a bunch of people living there. You have sometimes up to 10 cars parked all over the place. Sometimes they have no parking spot. They park in front of somebody else's house. And there are at least 5 kids. One of them is a 4-year-old living in that house. So I'm very concerned that something's going to happen. They're even living in the garage. So I'm concerned that something's going to happen to the kids. The youngest one is 4 years old.
32 Spring Hill.
32 Spring Hill.
We'll check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Linda Amen. I live at 311 North Highland.
Good evening, Ms. Seaman.
I'm here about 312 North Highland. And I wrote down some dates here, so if you don't mind me reading it.
Go right ahead.
The house across the street from me was purchased at a bankruptcy sale in March of 2017. And since then, it is being used illegally.
I'm sorry, it's what?
It's being used illegally.
Used? Okay, and what, I'm gonna say used illegally.
There was an unfinished basement there, and now up to 60 people each week are attending services in the basement.
Okay.
Everett posted a notice on October 31st telling them to cease what they were doing. There were trucks there all summer long. We assumed because we were having new neighbors that they were probably fixing the house up, which was a nice thought, but I should have known better. So he posted it on October 31st, and as of November, Everett hadn't gotten the paperwork in time, so they it was adjourned for that session. Okay? In January, I think the owner submitted something and it was adjourned once more.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
I'm sorry, before you ask this question, you sure it was 312, it wasn't 236?
No, it's 312, I'm positive.
312.
No problem.
Okay.
It wasn't clear to me, is there actually anyone living there, or is it just being used?
We were told, I called the sheriff's office one day because I thought it was a person working there without a license, and he spoke to the people that were renting. They said they were renting the first and second floors of the house. I know from Zillow pictures that I have that the basement was unfinished.
Okay.
And neighbors and myself can see through the garage door that there's a partition in there also now.
Oh, you've been on the property?
I have not been in the property, I can see it from the street, and my neighbors have also seen it from the street. I do not enter the property.
Okay.
On February 14th, when the owner never showed up, he was sent, from my understanding, a letter warrant.
Okay.
Then again, on March 14th, he did not show up, but he sent a representative. And this representative said that he didn't know if they would be able to get the paperwork for the permit together before the next meeting because of the Passover holidays, which I find quite amusing since they had since October 31st to be working on this. Then at the last meeting, which was April 11th, once again, the owner or a representative did not show up, and my understanding is that a letter warrant was going to be sent out, but I'm not sure.
Counsel?
It's difficult to get a bench warrant, which is something that's logged in the computer with the police department, unless you have a date of birth for the defendant in the case. In this case, we were fortunate enough to have a date of birth, so a bench warrant is lodged through the Justice Court. I don't know that the police actually go knocking on doors to arrest people on bench warrants unless they're for violations of the penal law, but it's the kind of thing that if there's a warrant out there for you, someone can come along, you can get a parking ticket or a speeding ticket and end up getting arrested until a judge arraigns you.
Well, I spoke to you about this once before, and I find it quite amusing because I haven't gotten a ticket in 50 years. So if I have to wait for that person to get a ticket, give me a break.
I mean, I can understand your frustration, but, we're dealing with the Justice Court prosecution. It's not, a place where,
What's the criminal proceeding? What was the criminal proceeding?
under the criminal, it's a quasi-criminal prosecution right now for construction without a permit. If you don't show up in court, if you don't show up for your arraignment, they can issue an arrest warrant. The court has a process for letter warrants for people who don't show up. But if you somehow get a date of birth for somebody who's charged with something, you can issue a physical bench warrant. It gets lodged in the in the computer with the Department of Criminal Justice Services. So theoretically, that person can be arrested on the bench warrant. And it gives the police more ammunition in going and finding them.
I mean, it seems to be that it can be stalled forever.
Well, actually, the
And-
violation is an ongoing violation though also. So every day that it's not resolved, it's considered a violation. And
Well,
that-
my
and that goes
understanding
towards
from
penalty.
Mr. Sebastian that it could be up to $500 a day.
Correct.
And believe me, I'm gonna be at the meeting to see that something's done.
Okay.
Honestly, there are up to 60 people going into this basement every weekend. And also, I wanna bring up something, that street is extremely dangerous. It's it has a double line on that road. I know you're aware that, I think it was in 2014, a motorcyclist was killed within 200 feet of that house. Another thing is there was a Verizon transfer box that was totally flattened, that was in 20 feet of the door where these people are entering. And also, something you don't know about is that somebody entered my neighbor's yard with a car, narrowly missed their house in a tree, went through our hedge, and came out my driveway. So it's an extremely dangerous road, and people are walking 3 and 4 abreast on the road. So that's just one safety concern. And I know there was a fire recently at another house of worship that was constructed, I think, without any permits or whatever, so,
In the village?
yes. On Pascack, 26 Pascack or something?
Okay. All right,
So
thank you.
that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yep, just name and address for the record, please.
Renee Berrigan, 43 Summit Road.
Good evening, Ms. Berrigan.
I just have a couple pictures to kind of show you.
Sure.
Sorry. This is people going around. People on Summit Road is a double yellow line.
Right.
Extremely dangerous. And this happens daily. So I was just wondering if...
So there's a car parked
No.
there and
No,
going
it's
around?
driving. There's a car here in the right lane. There's this car going around this car, and then of course there's another car in the right lane.
That was
This car, yeah, they're all moving. These 3 cars are all moving. So I was just wondering if.
Okay. Thank you.
And then I saw an article.
How about us?
Oh, you can see it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
I understand the first car was moving, but the second car was trying to pass.
The middle car was passing the first car.
What time of the day is that?
This was 7:11
In the morning.
in the morning.
Okay.
Must have been a BMW.
What?
Must have been a BMW.
Yes, it was.
You're saying it's happening on a regular basis?
Yes.
All right, well, we'll have the village clerk speak with Ramapo PD, see if they can have a sector car in that neighborhood around 7 in the morning, if they're able to check out what's going on.
And then I saw an article, I don't remember where I saw it, about construction houses where if they're not being built upon, that they need to be secured. So I have the 8 Hamilton house also, where there's been no construction for 4 months, but there's
8 Hamilton, we'll check it
8
out.
Hamilton.
All right.
The doors are open, everything is.
Right, usually, if the site's supposed to be secure, you're supposed to have a fence, they should have, there should be some security on the site, so that folks can't, it's not an attractive nuisance. All right, no problem, 8 Hamilton, we'll check it out.
Yeah, all right.
Check it out. Thank you. Yeah.
And that's been like for 4 months, untouched.
Did you call at all?
No, this was the first time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Berrigan. All right, anyone else? Name and address for the record.
Abram Deutsch, 72 Oman. I
Good
just
evening,
came on board, so I missed half of the meeting. 26 basket, the permit was picked up the 20th of this month, 1:34 p.m. The permit was picked up. The inspector was there several times before he gave the permit. There was a stop order, and they stopped working, but a permit was issued, and it was picked up the 20th of this month, 134, that's in 26 Basket.
Great.
There was no fire.
Oh.
The boiler had some smoke, and the fire department was there, and they gave in the complaint to the village, and the inspector came down again and again and again, and it was there Tuesday, the 17th. He looked everything over, then he issued a permit on Friday the 20th. That's the story of 26 Basket.
Thank you, Mr. Deutsch. Yes, Mr. Corbin, again, name and address for the record.
Jonathan Corbin, 6 Aberdeen Avenue. I just want to add something to the lady that spoke about 312 Highland Avenue. That's a very large colonial house, and it is true that 50, 60 people go there every weekend. There's a realty sign in front of that house, Mark Realty, and it's finally down? Okay, I called the owner of Mark Realty about 2 weeks ago, and she said the house was never sold. That's what she told me. And I said, well, you have people renting upstairs, because I met them, a young couple who are renting, and you have all these people who are worshiping on the Sabbath there. So I don't understand why it's not been sold. What's going on here? So I've written complaints about this house too. I'm surprised that no one has followed up on this.
You've written complaints to whom?
To the building inspector or whatever code enforcer.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
we will look into it again.
I went,
All right.
I went to the village hall
Thank you.
and,
And they called the police on you.
No problem. Okay.
yeah, well,
Next, please, name and address for the record. Mr. Lieberson?
Jerry Liebelson, 31 Middle Road. Just two general items that's going on in the village. 62 Sutton, 94 Sutton Place are typical of what's happening there and what will be happening, also continuing there and elsewhere, particularly on like Bell Lane, again up in the Lillian Drive area. So there you have these, again, I don't know, again, we call it a house, but it's like one story with a basement or something, that are being demolished, replaced with two huge homes, 6,500, like 6,300, 6,500 square feet, the two of them. That's like about a factor of 3 or more times the existing homes. Now, I talked to the Architectural Review Board Chairman, Mr. Lorraine, so I understand that they do not look, that the issue of being out of character, out of scale, does not trump building code. In other words, as long as they're able to build within the envelope and all that stuff, then it's fine. Okay. My concern now is, though, the population, if this goes on with these huge homes being, you have small one-story homes being replaced with huge multi-bedroom, many more people in each home. They'll be mostly kids, but, the population of this, and you also, I might add, we have the Walsky property, I understand that's going to be developed probably, and that's a residential area. That's between Summit Road and DeSalvo, with the whole big tree of wooded area that's below Fleetwood School. That will probably be, I think, townhouses or something.
Nothing is planned.
Oh, okay.
It will eventually be developed, I would
Residential,
assume,
right?
but it's zoned currently residential.
Right, okay, so.
The last go-around with that was single-family homes, I think it was 28 or 29.
Okay, so, my concern or question to you is the village, do you have any kind of plan for planning in place to anticipate the increase in population that the village is going to have from all this new construction that is much larger than what existed before? Okay, I mean, there's going to be, the population, I think, is total with kids is 8,500.
It's a little less, but
It's going to, right, but it's going to be significantly more. I mean, and which, the impact of this, and of course, we've talked before, the school buses, that's also going to increase. I mean, but is there any effort to look at what will be the effect on infrastructure, on everything, traffic?
We revisit our comprehensive plan on a regular basis. As we're doing our corridor study now on Red Schoolhouse Road, we'll probably do it in sections. That's an ongoing thing. The village, I don't think any village that I'm aware of can legislate population. And we never will legislate population. So long as folks buy their homes in the village for the same reason why you bought your home in the village. They like the fact that it's a bedroom community with space between houses, and if they choose to build their home on the envelope they're allowed, that they're permitted to build it on, that's why they moved there, just like that's why your parents moved to where they moved, and where I moved, and so forth. So, answer question number one, yes, the village is always doing that. That's what the planning board does when they look at subdivisions. That's what the zoning board does when it looks at variances. That's what the planner does when he looks at our comprehensive plan. But do we have any plan on legislating
No, I'm
or
not
restricting population? No.
not asking that. No, I
Okay.
just want to know, are you factoring in, are you really, are you looking and seeing what the, does someone have any estimates of what the anticipated?
That is part of the tapestry that the planner is paid for.
Yeah, okay. Second thing is, general item is code enforcement. I brought this up before. I know we have a disagreement about whether there needs to be more code enforcement, but I want to point out a few things. Particularly in light of what I believe I heard is that we are going to be losing our code enforcer, our single one part-time code enforcer. Is that?
Second one.
Second,
have
well, he's the, right, so the code inspector was both fine people, like the code inspector will, I believe, have to be